maybe together with appropriate committee, should be able to advise us properly whether there is an extant law that addresses the challenges a bill is trying to address, so that we don't devote our resources, both in terms of material and time. And when we finish the cleanup process, which I think the CNA does, or our clerk here, we should be able to follow it thoroughly. And one other thing, Mr. President, is we must find a way of ensuring that during public hearings, agencies or stakeholders that would operate the eventual law participate in the hearings. Because some of the observations might have been raised if the agencies were there, even though sometimes some of the agencies could be selfish, because maybe the bill may reduce their sphere of influence or something. But I believe that we should have a system that scrutinizes the bill before it comes. And when we have to hold or conduct a public hearing, those agencies or stakeholders, especially the statutory ones that have government functions to perform, appear to make their contributions at that stage, so that we don't have to go back and forth, wasting a lot of resources in the process. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yes.
I agree that the committee did a good job. Let me also add that some of the issues the leader alluded to are quite germane and true, maybe because there has been no painstaking engagement before some of these bills were passed. But beneath this aspect, there is also behind-the-scene politics, which should have been avoided in Mr. President's refusal to assent to some of these bills. For example, the Electoral Act bill. I know the decision to pass that bill cut across parties then. In fact, both political parties, both the APC and the PDP, agreed on the need to have an electoral a reform that will add finesse to the kind of election that will come. But after we passed this Electoral Act and Mr. President withheld assent, it came back here. Of course, the tradition is where there is unanimity in understanding and passing this bill, the next thing is to maybe take a decision that will stand the test of time. And yet you find some of our colleagues who were part of the decision withdrawing their support. This is the behind the scene politics that I refer to. So I pray that we will have to understand our roles as a statement that sometimes we have to take decisions that will shape the destiny of our country. Let us not be doing as if we want always to be playing Man Friday or maybe grandstanding or playing to the gallery, like I earlier on pointed out in this chamber. If we stand on our position that Nigeria first, no matter whose interest is God, I am sure we will do better. Because I know the work, what we did on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill was an attempt to protect the interests of Nigeria as a nation. There was no party politics. That I can say without fear of contradiction. And I think we'll be guided if we do that which will take Nigeria forward. And we must look beyond the boundaries of political parties. On this, let me say congratulations to this advocate.
Senator James Manja.
For having done a very thorough job, very thorough. The members of the committee, and indeed the secretariat, headed by Barrister Charles, for this job that they have done. I am very happy with what they have done. Mr. President, I'm surprised that about 20 years down the line, we still have this problem, because these two arms of government, there are so many things that will make us to work together. And working together does not mean that one will rely on only the other to survive. But this is where working together is emphasized. The business of lawmaking, Mr. President, is an expensive one, where sometimes even public hearings are conducted, and the people put in all their best. At the end of the day, the issues are referred back to plenary, and then you have about 109 senators and about 360 lawmakers on the other side, green chambers, all agreeing, or at least majority agreeing that this must be passed. And then when it gets to the executive arm of government, perhaps the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, then bills will be referred to that particular office. In my humble view, I think that is the ministry that receives most of these bills. And then few persons will sit together and then advise Mr. President. Of course, the office of the President of Nigeria is a very, very busy one. And therefore, this body of advisors, more often than not, also create problems for, not just for the National Assembly, but for the entire country. Because laws are made, not for us, but for all of us, including those Nigerians that have elected us, and those who are even too young to elect us, even those who are yet to be born. Everybody is interested, Mr. President. So there must be a system whereby complicated issues like this must be resolved. And Mr. President, I am surprised that as early as 2003, this particular matter referred to by the committee, the National Assembly against the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, as early as 2003. And unfortunately, interpreting the true import of Section 58(5) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, I am surprised that this matter didn't get to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, this is one matter that the Supreme Court ought to have made a pronouncement. Instead of quoting the Court of Appeal ruling or judgment, we're supposed to be quoting the judgment of the apex court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But somehow, since Gani Fawemi of blessed memories, died, Gani Fawemi, while he was alive, he was known to have been developing the jurisprudence of this country by sometimes spending his own resources to go to court and even sometimes going to the apex court to interpret on issues that will guide the nation. But unfortunately, this one, I don't know whether Gani had already died before this one came up. But I'm sure the matter came up before Gani died. So, Mr. President, the committee has done a good job. Specifically, in their recommendations, they are talking about the different cases. And again, the other one that they are talking about doing it all over again. I think we need to fast-track the process, because that is what the Court of Appeal has pronounced upon. So since we need to get it done again, something must be done so that some of these very important bills can be passed and assented to by Mr. President in the life of this National Assembly. So, Mr. President, once again, I want to sincerely thank the committee for the thorough job you have done. I'm sure this will guide us.
those who have contributed, the issues are clear. I mean, even from the recommendations, I think there are 17 bills here, of which 12 of them are to be represented through the process. Only four to be withdrawn, and one they are requesting for veto. I think we should all learn the lessons. I said, these bills are for the entire country, they're not our individual process. And I think the key issues that what I observe is that there are cases where those heading agencies or ministries who sometimes might not be able to have got their way at public hearings and then have a second bite at the cherry. And I think that really does not help. There must be a way to improve this process because, as you say, a lot of money and time has been spent. But to go ahead, I think what we need to do immediately is for those that are to be represented, I think there are only 6 of those, we should list them immediately so that they can start through the process and we have those done. Those that require constitutional amendment, I think those ones about 6 as well. And I think that we have to find a date where, if it's possible for us to be able to muster the attendance for that. But the ones that are the easiest one, as I said, is the ones that we just need to pass the bill and start the process. And as rightly said, we'll just go ahead and see that we do that in this short period of time that is available. So I'll put the question before us for those who are in... Okay, point of order.
232 of the Constitution, subsections 1 and 2. Subsection 1 provides for original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The most ranking just made some submission, and I think it is necessary for me to just note that subsection 2 of that provision provides that in addition to the jurisdiction conferred upon the Supreme Court in subsection 1 of this section, the Supreme Court shall have such original jurisdiction as may be conferred upon it by an act of the National Assembly. There was a lacuna in the Constitution which gave original jurisdiction just to matters arising from federal government, between federal government and state government, or between state governments. It did not provide for between the different arms of government, which was why the National Assembly now did the 2010 Additional Jurisdiction Act, which was why in 2003, when this one came up, it just started from the Federal High Court and went to Court of Appeal, where Oguntade, JC as it then was, gave that judgment. So it is important to note that that was actually what transpired. And secondly and lastly, to say that other 77 of our rules provides. And I think what we should do really is to amend other 77 so as to avoid this sort of procedure for bills. Notice of presentation of government bill shall be given by publication of the provisions proposed to be embodied in such bill in an issue of the Official Gazette or National Assembly Journal, of which a copy shall have been sent to every senator. The first challenge is that whilst Order 76 provides that there could be executive bills, members' bills, and private bills, Order 77 only provides for notice to be given when it comes to issues of government bills. Meanwhile, the National Assembly Service Commission Bill has provided not just for the legal department, but for the scrutiny department. And I feel that no bill should even be gazetted. So there must be an insertion. If it has not passed formally, it should not just be a convention. It should be a matter of the rules. If it goes through scrutiny, for instance, in Chapter 7 of the Constitution, anything that has to do with courts are already stated. But I know somebody has presented a bill before to create a new court. It is unconstitutional. And you cannot present such bills. But if it goes through proper scrutiny, like it's done in other crimes, I don't think we will have any challenge. So that I just said I should mention those two things, Order 77 and of the rules and Section 232, 1 and 2 of the Constitution. Thank you.
Well, the recommendation, those in favor of the recommendations as presented by the Technical Committee say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, Clerk of the, if you ensure that the 6 that are due to be passed again, we put them in order paper as quick as possible. And then the 6 that are meant to come for constitutional amendment, we'll look at a date where we have enough people present for us to take those by constitutional money.